Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk a little bit more about Tribes 3 Rivals. And yes, I know I've been a little bit heavy-handed with the Tribes content as of late, but what can I say? I'm really enjoying it, and so I wanted to share with you my thoughts from the latest playtest. The clips you are watching are easily my best highlights from the weekend's playtest, so I hope you can sit back, relax, and watch these clips while I ramble a little bit here. I am just flying off the top of my head here. There is no script at all. So first off, why the hell should you care about what I have to say? After all, I've never played a Tribes game before, and I don't consider myself a Tribes player. As I've stated many times before, I'm a Quake player, and at the time of making this video, I have less than 15 hours in Tribes 3 Rivals, which is the entirety of my Tribes experience overall. So I think you want to listen to me if you're interested in what a new player has to say, a new player who's a very serious gamer, and who has also played a lot of arena shooters, which in my opinion is just the fpsz genre's older cousin. So here we go. For this playtest, I played a little bit of medium, but I mostly stuck to the heavy. As someone who's not a great skier yet, I wanted to stay back and stick to defense, as I feel like that was where I could most help my team out. The first thing I noticed right out of the gates is that the projectile speeds of all of the launcher weapons were significantly faster. I played with the honor fuser, the spin fuser, and the bow weapon for the heavy, and every projectile felt a lot faster. They also added something called an inheritance slider this playtest, and while I don't know the intricacies as well as maybe a Tribes veteran, from what I understand is it's basically a slider that you can adjust values to more or less make your projectile go faster or slower based upon your own velocity as you're traveling. From what I gather, all the various iterations of Tribes games have different projectile speeds, and so the inheritance slider allows player to kind of play to their strength or to what they're familiar with. I played at everything default, which was 100%, and I do have to say, I felt that this playtest was a lot easier for me to hit those mid-air shots than the previous iterations that I had played. Now I noticed that this was very controversial in the Discord. Many people felt that it was way too easy to hit these shots, and a lot of people wanted it tuned back. And I can empathize with veteran players who do not want the game to become watered down. They want the game to remain highly skilled, and of course they will be on top because they have so many thousands of hours already put into this genre. But for the sake of argument, I want to present you with a different take, a new player take. I've got good aim. I have it from all my years of playing shooter games. However, what I don't have in a Tribes game is the skiing skills. I don't have the knowledge of what I need to do to properly lead a shot. When I'm flying at 100 miles an hour, I just am winging it. And all I can say is that this iteration of the playtest made winging it a lot easier, and it made me feel really excited when I was hitting more of those shots, which I think is a really big deal for a new player. Hitting those types of shots is undoubtedly the hook for Tribes, and a new player coming in, if they're not hitting those mid-air shots, and then on top of it they're trying to learn how to ski, it can make for a very challenging barrier of entry, and a lot of people will get frustrated and just quit because they're quite frankly not enjoying the game. Because let's face it, everybody wants to hit shots, everybody wants to be good, everybody wants to be the main character in the video game. But when there's no MMR system and you're playing against veterans with thousands of hours and they're slaughtering you at every turn and you're not able to compete, it can be very daunting, very intimidating, very frustrating. Now my personal personality type is that I'll put up with it and I'll keep going, but not everybody's like that. And I hate to say it, I feel like most gamers in the younger generations, they are way more not like that than somebody like myself. You have to remember, I've been punished by arena shooter veterans for years and years and years, so I'm used to it. I think arena shooters in fpsz games are very similar in that respect. So the bottom line for me is, I felt the gunplay was the best it's been so far in these playtests. I really enjoyed the velocity of the projectiles, and for me, it was really exciting to hit those shots a lot more often. And I think that's crucial to have new players have that feeling, so it can hook them into Tribes and they can start feeling like, okay, I can hit these shots, I can start getting better at this game, and now I can continue to improve upon the little baseline that I've established for myself. That's what I've been thinking, like making this video and looking back and watching some of these shots. It's like, okay, this is pretty cool, but I was only hitting these shots maybe one time out of every 10. Now I want to get that to one time out of every 5. one time out of every 3. I'm sure that's not possible, but you get my point, right? Lowering the playing field a little bit, that allows more players to get that confidence down and will hook them in to want to keep playing this game, which is very important for an older game like Tribes, because let's face it, just like the arena shooter, this genre is very niche and it's going to bring back all the veterans. But to survive, I think it's also going to need to bring in a healthy dose of new players as well. And to hook in those new players, again, you have to lower the playing field a little bit so everybody can get in there and start to feel like they're having a good time right out of the gates. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the skiing and the jets. I can definitely tell that the jets were improved upon in this iteration of the patch. I played as a heavy most of the time, but honestly in this iteration of the playtest, playing as a heavy kind of felt like playing as a medium in the previous playtests. And I think it's great. I'm sure veteran players are going to watch this video if they do, and they're going to roll their eyes at me. But guys, flying around in Tribes is one of the best things ever. So why not give us all the jets? Let us fly all over the place. I mean, there's a lot of ways to knock people out of the air. I don't know. I just think that it's a great thing to just let us have more jets and let us just go for it. And please tell me if this is just how Tribes is, but for me, when I'm up in the air, I would love a little bit more air control. Right now I feel very suspended and floaty up there, and I would love the ability to maybe adjust my lateral velocity a little bit and change direction a little bit sharper. Just a feel thing for me, and again, not a Tribes player, but it just would feel right to have a little bit more lateral movement. The next thing is skiing. I felt like the skiing was a little bit smoother. I felt like some of my transitions between hills, in my very limited knowledge of how to ski, I felt like my transitions between hills was a lot better. However, there is something that really does bother me, and it's hard to describe. But basically, when I'm skiing and I bump into something and all my momentum stops, I wish there was just a little bit more speed to get me going again, especially on flat terrain and going up hills. I feel like you just get stuck in quicksand and it just feels clunky and it feels really punishing. Just kind of unfun, quite frankly. And I get it, there should be a little bit of a punishment for people who splat against a rock and then stop dead in their tracks. But to me, it just feels a little bit too hard of a stop. I would just like to be able to get going again just a little bit quicker. For me, I don't really have any commentary to make about any of the weapons except for the new shock lance, I believe it's called. I just quite frankly didn't get how to use it, so I just didn't use it. I mean, I guess it's kind of like a melee backstab weapon, which I didn't really see how that could fit in a game like this. I know I'm sure veterans play with it all the time, but for me, it just wasn't something that I was interested in trying out, to be honest with you. As for the current weapons that have been in previous playtests, I didn't use the chain gun because it just felt kind of cheap to use. I guess it's because when I fought people who were using it, it just felt so overpowered and oppressive and super unfun to play against. So I gotta be honest with you, I didn't want to use it because it just seemed like a cheap weapon. And I know that the chain gun is a Tribes weapon, I get it, but for me it just, it feels so out of place, and I'm not sure what the developers can do to tune it back, but I do think it needs to be tuned back. Lastly, I played a lot of sniper rifle as the heavy. To me, it was a great finisher. I got a lot of kills on people who were very low health trying to run away, and I've heard a lot of talk about the energy drain that that weapon has when it hits players. And because I was playing a heavy when I got hit by it, I didn't really feel affected by it much, but I can see how a light or a medium, especially going for the flag or carrying a flag, when they get hit by that, how that can be so oppressive and unfun. And so because of that, I think the weapon is probably overtuned and should be scaled back or rethought of a little bit, because I don't think it should have energy drain as it's already such a strong finisher. And the only other thing I want to say about the sniper rifle is that it felt really weak in my hands, and I would like more feedback to it when I'm shooting. I would also like the ability to see my projectile a little bit better so I could shoot it, see where the projectile went, and then correct my aim for the next shot. I think that'd be very helpful to have that visual aid, as well as just the feel of the weapon being stronger, because all the guns are badass. Why do I have this weak little dinky rifle in my hands? As for the maps, I really enjoy them. I said in my last video that people thought they were balanced, and I got some feedback that that's not really the case, but I gotta be honest with you guys, I don't know a good map from a bad map, but for me, I thought the maps were all cool, and the environments look great, and the art of this game is pretty dang sweet. I will say the map with the giant tower bases, getting to the generator down below that's in the water now, I like that there was a hole in the base where you could drop down, and now you can't. I don't know the decision on that, why that change was necessary, but for me, I don't know. I thought it was better with the hole to drop down on the generator. As for anything else off the top of my head, maybe some quality of life stuff, allow us to queue up into multiple queues at the same time. The code system for custom lobbies is fine, but I think a lobby browser would be way better, and people could still share codes to bypass the lobby browser, so if somebody doesn't want to look around, they just punch the code in and they're put in the game. But the lobby browser idea would be way better. And speaking about custom games, this is where the developers could give people the ability to change a ton of stuff. For lack of a better term, let's just call them mutators. If you don't like the default settings of the projectile speed or the jets or the way skiing works, give us mutators to shift all that stuff around and then create our own custom lobbies with those shifted settings. I think this would appease a lot of different players. And then my final bit of feedback, allow me one complaint. Your game crashed so much this playtest, it was insane. I think I crashed probably 1 out of every 3 games I played. Sometimes I crashed multiple games in a row. So not only do you need to get a handle on those crashes, but you need to give me the ability to reconnect, as I was having some great games that crashed, and I am still a little bit salty about it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna stop the complaining there because I'm having a great time with Tribes, and I'm really excited for the next iteration of this playtest. I think they're doing a great job with the game, and I'm really excited to keep coming back for more. But speaking about Salty, I'm SaltyOctopus. Thanks for watching. Please let me know in the comments below what you thought about my video. What you think of my newfound skills? How am I doing out there, guys? I think I'm doing all right. Let me know what you think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. If you want to play Tribes 3 Rivals, look it up on Steam and request access for the next playtest. I'm sure they're going to keep them coming, and you can get in there for the next one. Happy fragging!